Welcome to the Product Podcast, where we dive deep into the real world challenges and victories of product managers, startup founders, and product teams. I'm your host, Lee Jean, and in each episode, we have authentic conversations that uncover the hidden stories shaping modern product management. In today's episode, I interview Yuki Obata, a female entrepreneur living here in Japan. We discuss a wide range of topics from her challenges of being a female entrepreneur here and some of the pivots she's gone through, as well as what she thinks the future of Japan will be like. I hope you enjoy the episode. All right, Yuki. How are
Hello.
you doing? Good?
Hi, Lee. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I'm super excited for our chat. I have been wanting to get you on the podcast for quite some time after we met at the Pitch to Tokyo Yokohama event, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a super exciting event there. Initially when we connected, I, really was impressed by your pitch and also your product that you were building. But before we get into that, what I'd like to know is a little bit about you. I think that your story is actually pretty special. So can you share a little bit about yourself? Yes.
Yes, of course. Thank you. So my name's Yuki, and I am Japanese by passport, but I grew up in the UK, Australia, Russia, and the US. And I came back to Japan during college because I graduated during COVID. Wasn't planning to be here at all, but now I'm here. I'm really enjoying the entrepreneurship journey. I didn't really expect myself to be here, but it's been a fun, exciting journey in Japan. And I really see the Japanese startup scene also getting really excited. And it's a great time to be here and really be in that scene as well.
Awesome. Well, you said that you lived in so many different
Yes.
countries. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like what happened with bouncing around and stuff?
Yes. So I moved around a lot because of my father's business, and that was, yeah, it was just a lot of moving around. I was always the new kid in school, but I was born in the UK, and I came back to Japan for a bit, and then I went to Australia where I picked up my Australian accent, but then I went back to Japan for a bit, and then I went to Russia where I went to an American school and I lost my Australian accent, so I have like a in between international accent, and then I went to college in the States and studied genetics and data science there.
Whoa, genetics and data science.
It's
Very
a very
interesting.
exciting time. Yeah.
You went to UC Berkeley, is that correct?
Yeah. I went to
Awesome.
Berkeley and yeah,
That's a really interesting story. Do you speak any Russian or any?
just a little bit. They would
Okay.
not speak any English. So I kind of had to learn Russian to survive there. But
Exactly. Yes, yes. I
yes,
could I could imagine, right?
yeah,
Exactly. So,
very cool.
yeah, exactly. That's a really cool background to live in all those different countries. Myself, I left the US in 2015. I've lived in Australia, Vietnam, and now Japan. So I can attest to living in different countries as well and how it, opens your mind. You know what I
Yes,
mean? I speak
it's
Vietnamese.
yeah,
I
it's a
speak
great
Vietnamese.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's really awesome. So, I guess, how did you get into entrepreneurship? It sounds like you have a genetics and like very like scientific background, right? What led you into this crazy journey of entrepreneurship?
So I think it really started when I was in college. There was this startup culture, especially because I was really close to Silicon Valley, and I wanted to go into biotech startup. That was my plan after college. But because I was back in Japan, I was like, okay, this is not gonna work as I kind of thought it would be. So I started recruiting here, and there was two core things that I really wanted to do. It was more healthcare, and also I just wanted to. I was doing a lot of research back in college, and there was so much research that was done, but nothing was kind of giving value to society, or nothing was had not like papers would just stay in labs, and I thought just that was just a waste, and there could be a lot of value that could be created through them. So I wanted to go into more business. I was recruiting, and I got to a lot of business conglomerates in Japan are actually they had a really strong healthcare businesses. So I was like, okay, why not join this and see how it goes? So I joined Mitsubishi as a new grad. And I was there for a year and a half in more of the DX department. And then they had this great program where I could pitch and they would start investing into, well, I would go through an incubation process and they would start investing into a company. So I pitched and everything went smoothly. And yeah, that's how I really got into the founder journey, which I didn't really expect, but it's been great so far.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it sounds like a you kind of went into it by chance. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's really cool. You know, a lot of us find ourselves into entrepreneurship for various reasons. And yeah, I think that your story is very unique. So, how do you find it so far?
A lot of challenges, a lot of learnings at the same time. I do find it's very, there's everything you do, you have an impact, or you feel like you had a direct impact. So it's very fulfilling. But there are a lot of ups and downs, and I think there are a lot of challenges that are not existent in more of a corporate culture. So it's very different scene. But I really enjoy it. I want to continue doing it, is my take.
Okay, I have a pretty unique question then. So, what are some of the challenges that you've enjoyed going throughout this process?
Okay. I think my first one was being okay with being said no. I don't know how many no's I've received since I started being a founder. I think mainly back in college or just life in general, it was more of yeses for me. And it was, first of all, very hard for me to take on a no or not feeling confident enough for me to be like, no, why are you saying no? Like, I don't understand. Um, so that was my biggest challenge of just going out there and putting myself up front and just, being able to kind of digest no's.
Exactly, taking the nose, right? Now, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like it's easier?
Yes, so much easier. And I think I take it a different way now that whenever they say no, it's like just ask them why they're saying no, and it puts a value onto your startup and you get more insights and feedback on how you should go forward.
Yeah, exactly. That's all part of the learning process. We're all, in this to learn more, right? And we can't just give up, right? It's really it's we need to persevere, through the nose and through all the BS that comes with it, for sure.
Mm.
What are some other stuff that you've been dealing with? So maybe some of the ones you hate, some of the challenges that you're like, "Oh no, this is too much."
Mm, I think so. Before I pivoted a couple of times. My first products was more in evaluations and HR.
Mm,
And so I had quite a bit of trial customers. But then when it was more of the conversion period, I was just asking like, when can you start paying for my product? They were like, we can't pay for your product. And that was like the hardest challenges I faced. I think
mm,
people are willing to try products, but really getting a value out of it or getting them to pay is another step that I faced as a huge
mm,
challenge
mm.
since, yeah,
So, are you currently a solo founder or did you have a co-founder?
I'm a solo founder.
Solo founder. So, are you actually building the product and coding the product yourself, or how's it
Oh,
working?
I have engineers that coded the products, but I didn't have a CTO.
Oh, how do you think having a co-founder might help you?
Oh, I've like questioned that so many times. I haven't experienced having a co-founder. I think I haven't found anyone maybe that I want to co-found a business with yet. But I think they'll give me a lot of insights. I think currently, right now, everything is in my head. Yes, I do go to people and discuss, like, this is what I'm facing right now. Like, what do you think, whatnot. But I would always have to ask them schedule a time. So having a co-founder, maybe I could just, chat to them anytime, anywhere,
Mm.
because you're working on the same thing.
Yep.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's the hardest thing to find the right co-founder.
yeah,
It's like
like,
dating almost, right? You're trying to find somebody that you're potentially going to be with for the next 10 years building a
yeah.
startup, right? But I can tell you, I found two co-founders and I've gone through this process a few times now. It is so good to be able to bounce ideas off of, one other person.
Mm.
And you go through that struggle together, not alone, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, it really helps. I would highly recommend trying to find somebody,
Yes.
it really helps with the process. Yeah. The
Mm.
whole startup process is very dramatic. And you need somebody there to help you.
Yes.
Exactly. So you said that you went through a pivot, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about what the product was before and kind of like what direction you're going into now?
Yes. So before it was, I worked, my product was working under the mission of no work unnoticed. And I thought in a corporate workplace, there was a lot of work that didn't go noticed by a manager. So I created this product where there's more peer-to-peer evaluation. So it was more 360-degree evaluation. It has a negative connotation, but for me, I was trying to get more of a positive connotation on that product. And people would so input impacts that their other colleagues made, and which would be shown to the managers. And that would essentially give the managers a better view, better data points to evaluate the employees. And that was the first product that I was working on. But because of the trial customers not really converting into paying customers, I just couldn't believe in my product anymore. And I decided my pivot.
Mm.
And yeah, my pivot space, I came to um, creating content for companies for which would allow them to connect with more the younger talent, just because I saw this Japanese companies or companies in Japan weren't really connecting with the young talent, and they were really struggling to hire them. And this came through the process of me kind of asking a lot of HR people, what are like the pain points you're facing right now if you're not going to pay for this other product that I had? So
Hmm.
that kind of came out from that. And as I was building this, I'm kind of going through another pivot of maybe for video content creation, it's not HR right now, and it's more of marketing and creating short videos for them.
Mm.
So we're kind of in that phase of, oh, which way are we going to go? So it's
But you're doing this through like constantly talking to the same customers, different customers?
different customers.
Mm. That's
For
good though. You're getting the insights and
yeah.
making an informed decision to pivot,
Yes.
right? That's good. You know, sometimes people just stick with it and it goes down the wrong way. It
Yeah.
sounds like that you're able to see the insights and data and make a decision to pivot. That's good too, right? And like, where do you see, I guess, the problem going from now? The one that you're passionate about solving now. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
I do see still so I wanted to create a Netflix for recruiting, more of creating
Mm.
videos
Yeah.
for HR. And then right now we're like maybe there's more value in marketing and helping companies really connect with the Gen Z young talent, not young talent, the younger consumers in
Mhm.
Japan. So we're kind of seeing, oh, maybe we're going to be a platform for B2C products and getting them to market to the clients. So we don't really have a product yet in vision, but we do see that people are willing to pay if we give them ideas or if we create content for them.
Cool. So it's kind of like maybe potentially like Netflix for marketing, but not sure yet, right? That could be interesting. When I heard that, obviously when you were, pitching at the pitch to Tokyo, I immediately thought like, okay, this could be really valuable for recruiters,
Mm,
right? Because it's really hard to show, obviously, the company culture through just a job description,
yeah,
right?
sure.
But it sounds like it's a very challenging type of thing to build. Is that right?
Yes, there are some demand, and I think we're still working with companies to create HR videos for them, but we're just seeing which way is better for us to really dive into.
Right.
Both.
Absolutely. So, what got you into HR? Why HR?
HR, it's a good question. So I wanted to just I just wanted to start my own thing. And I was
Mm.
like, what are the problems around me? What can I really pitch? Back then I was working in a big corporate. I was like, okay, like I wonder how this evaluation system works. It was just more of my everyday life, what I really knew or what the main
Hmm.
yeah, problems or main questions I had was in the HR field. So that's
I
how I
see.
got into HR.
I see. Because HR is a huge,
Yeah.
huge industry.
Yes.
They have so many problems,
Hmm.
especially with regards to talent recruitment. Like there's always, some AI startup trying to solve, the whole recruitment
Hmm.
problem. And I don't think it's a solvable thing. You know what I mean? There's like so many facets to it, that it's really, really hard. It's really competitive as well. Did
Yes.
you find that there were a lot of competitors you were dealing with?
So many competitors.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yes, it's just a lot of, I think products just get built and yeah, they can't get customers and they just go to waste. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm kind of a little bit more cautious of developing a product at first hand. We're just doing more of manual work right now and just
Yeah.
seeing, okay, where is the product that we should build before actually building a product.
Absolutely. Oh, very, very cool. Yeah, it sounds like you got a good direction going, which I'm super excited to see what you build next, which is good.
Yeah.
So I wanted to switch gears and actually talk about your challenges specifically as a female in Japan building product, right? Obviously being abroad in America, there's way more female founders there, right? But here, I think there's a trend that's going up, but there still might be challenges. Could you shed some light on that for some of our listeners? Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, I definitely see that there are less female founders. I go to networking events and there's mostly, I don't know, 80%, 90% men.
Yeah.
And it's only a few of us that are really female founders. But I think there's a lot of groups and events out there that are just geared towards female founders or females in the startup scene, which is great to see.
Hmm.
Um, some challenges I've probably faced that they do in some senses, I think society puts a label that, oh, no, no, you're not supposed to be that bossy or that confident or whatnot. So there are struggles in that field of, okay, like how should I really be acting, whatnot. But for me, I'm just like, okay, no, that those are societal standards. Not gonna listen to them. I'm just gonna be myself, is how
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you seem to be shining, right? And through this whole entire
Mm,
process by being yourself.
mm,
That's what I try to teach a lot of the people that I encounter. And, I get some of the questions, oh, but what if I this, what if that, I'm like, just be yourself, see what
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
What's the worst that can happen? Right?
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's actually a great question to ask whenever I get stuck in a rut or I'm
Yeah.
like, what is the worst thing that could happen? Probably not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say you make a mistake, you learn
Yeah.
something, right?
Yes,
If
exactly.
you
Yeah.
don't do anything, right, then that's when the real
Thing.
mistake happens,
Yes.
right? Exactly. No, so you said that you were able to actually get funding, is that correct?
Yes.
What was there a situation where you were pitching at the investment committee or whoever you're speaking to, or maybe outside investors for a different product you were building, and I don't know, maybe they were giving you some sort of pushback or something like that because you were female?
I haven't faced that myself.
Mm,
Well, they haven't, maybe even if they did, they wouldn't have told, they haven't told me.
that's good. That's
But
good.
I don't, yeah, I haven't had any of that. I think there's been actually a shift in Japan. There's like a lot of only female accelerators or
Mm,
so I think for us, it's a great time to be a founder or to be in that space because there's a lot of programs just geared towards us.
that's good. Yeah, and it's good to have that community, right? It's good to
Yes,
have those
exactly.
programs in place to promote it.
Hmm.
I just went to an event a few weeks ago called Impact Women Weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Impact Women Weekend. It was actually pretty cool to see all, female founders there. And it's great, right? When the whole room is like 90%,
Yeah, you never have.
female. It's a very different type of vibe,
Yeah.
right? So I really appreciate that, and I hope to see it grow
Mm,
because that's what Japan needs,
yes.
right? 100%. Speaking of what Japan needs, right? Obviously, there's a lot of problems here in Japan that need solving. Societal problems, right? Logistical problems, What do you think is going to be like the biggest need for entrepreneurs, right? Or for Japan in the future?
Mm. I think we need more people to come into Japan and be founders, really have I think Japan has this risk adverse culture, and people aren't willing to really quit their job or just dive into starting something of their own. So just having this environment of people coming into Japan and I know building their own thing, succeeding. And when people see that, I think Japanese people be like, okay, maybe I could do it as well. And just having more people start their own thing or yes, start what they're passionate about would be something that I would love to see in Japan.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the problems I'm trying to solve in my English business on the side.
Mm.
It's like being like connecting like foreign founders and Japanese founders together, right? It's not easy.
No.
It's really not easy because of the language, but also
Mm.
culture, things like that. So I guess what advice would you have for somebody who is a foreign founder wanting to build in Japan to maybe connect with a Japanese founder or to build here in general?
Um, I think to really connect with the people here that are doing
Mm,
building their own business here, to really get a gauge of what is happening. There's a lot of startup events happening. There's actually a lot of active people on LinkedIn as well, and just reaching out to them, having a chat and
mm,
connecting from there.
mm. Yeah, yeah. One of the problems that I've encountered is a lot of Japanese people don't use LinkedIn,
Yes, that's
right?
true.
They're all on Facebook
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Eight or like all these other platforms.
Yes.
Where is everybody, right? Like, I think it's what, like 4 million users or something like very
Mm,
low number
yeah.
in on of Japanese on LinkedIn
Mm.
compared to the population, right?
I
Hopefully
do.
that,
Yeah. I was really surprised. So I go to like Japanese startup events and more of the international scene startup events. And the international ones, they use LinkedIn. And the Japanese one, they all use Facebook. And I'm like, I thought Facebook was for my like private life. That was when I was in, I don't know, when I was in high school
right?
and I posted like weird happy birthday photos or
Exa Exactly, right? I don't want
not very
people looking at
professional for
stuff.
me, but
Exactly. I don't want people looking at
yeah.
my stuff like from 10 years ago, like or 20 years ago. It was
Yeah.
crazy, man, right? But yeah, I hopefully that will change. I've been trying to connect people through various events and
Mm,
workshops and stuff, just so that we can get the ideas flowing, right? Because like you said, the risk aversion, I think, is a
yeah.
real block for a lot of Japanese people, right?
Mm,
And it's really hard to overcome because they don't want to take that next step,
mm,
right? So your unique background of living abroad, coming here and living in Japan now, right? How do you feel? I mean, you are Japanese by passport, but you're very
yeah.
international. So I guess how do you feel where you look Japanese, right? You are expected to be Japanese,
Yeah.
but inside it's like very different. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, that's honestly a question I ask myself every day. I do because I look really Japanese. Japanese people expect me to follow certain rules that are not spoken. There's a lot of, I think, expectations up on just being Japanese, and I need to follow those rules, and there's a lot of pressure on that. However, I think it's a good thing as well that I could connect with these Japanese people
Mm,
that are not really open to the international community or not really open to um, connecting with others that are not in their circle. So for me, being more of the catalyst or the person mid person connecting these both communities, I think that's where I would really love to stand.
mm. Yeah, I actually think we need more people like you, and we need more people, who have, maybe Japanese, lived abroad, speak English, have foreign
Mm.
friends, have an understanding of the world to help make that bridge to people like me and other foreign founders who want to make an impact here in Japan,
Hmm.
right? I don't know how we can do it, on a grand scale, but little things, interactions help all
Yeah.
the time, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. No, like my wife goes through this all the time. So my wife actually, born in Niigata, right? Went to college and lived up until, yeah, college, university
Mm.
in Japan. Then she moved to the US for work. She started her work
Wow.
career
Okay.
in the US. And then we met in Vietnam, so she
Yeah.
moved to Vietnam afterwards. So she's never worked in Japan.
Oh,
So yeah, she speaks English fluently, like has like an American accent,
yeah.
is very international. So she had a little shock when she came back here and started working, right? Because it's like
Yes.
very different than in the US, right? The whole mindset and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle, right?
Yeah. It's very different, is how I see it. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. I couldn't like that's why when I came here I was like I'm not going to work for, Japanese company. I'm just going to do my own thing because,
Yeah.
I couldn't, stay late at night,
Mm.
press the boss.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I'm like, why? You know?
Yeah, exactly. It's not the hours, it's more the productivity. I think there's a shift. I really hope there is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, you're a bit younger than me. You're in Gen Z, is that correct?
yeah.
How do you see your generation changing in the next, I guess, changing Japan in the next
Mm.
few years? Yeah.
I think we're more outspoken, or we believe in certain things that we don't, that the more of the upper generations do not believe in, and we speak up for it. So I think there could be a change in that they need to now accept. the fact that Japan is changing. We're more into sustainability. We look at companies' portfolio and be like, okay, are they really doing sustainable things? Or we have a different view on how we see the company as a whole. So unless they adapt to what the values are for Gen Zs or the next generation, Gen Alphas,
Mm,
um, they won't be able to recruit them. So I think there's a good change in there.
And do you think that your generation or Gen Alpha, the ones after, do you think that there will be a change in terms of wanting to have children and starting the family here?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I think so.
Because it's expensive,
Yeah, it's
right?
yeah. And yeah, I
My
think we don't
my
really follow the
yeah.
typical. I think when my parents were 25, 26, if you're not married after 25, you're like a leftover Christmas cake or something, and you didn't really have that much value. That's what they called it.
What?
Um, but the tradition's changing, and I don't know, people aren't getting married. I don't think there's a huge incentive for people to get married or have kids. So
Mhm.
I think there's a big change in that.
Yeah,
Not,
absolutely.
yeah. One, I think back in days, it was perceived that the definition of success is you have a family, you have a good job, you have a stable job, you have like kids. But that is really changing. People are more have people come from different backgrounds, people have different education, and our values are all different now.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. And
Yeah.
my generation, millennials, like we're not having kids as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're like we need to work. We'd rather travel, like we'd rather explore the world, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a decline in America as well. There's other countries, even I think South Korea's got it even
Yeah.
worse, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
China got rid of the one child policy
Mm.
because their birth rate was declining. But I guess in Japan, what do you think is going to be necessary for them to sustain their level of success, given the declining birth population?
Oh, so many things, honestly. From a perspective of being a woman, I think there needs to be more support on having kids and being able to work at the same time. People are not going to quit their jobs because they have kids. And it's more of how can they balance
Mhm.
having children and having to really want to pursue their career. So I think that really pops into my mind first because I have so much respect for all the moms out there
Mm,
having kids and also working. It's
yep,
a lot of
I
work.
agree. Yeah, being a mother is like the hardest job in the world.
Yeah.
Imagine working a full-time job on top of that. Couldn't imagine. Unbelievable. But yeah, I also agree. I think also maybe immigration, like having more people coming into Japan who are
Mm,
more willing to have kids and
yeah.
more willing to like maybe stay at home and take care of the kids or something like that.
Yes.
Or I don't know, like allowing that to happen more, I think will definitely help Japan.
Mm,
There
definitely.
there are people from countries that where it's more in their culture to have multiple kids, right?
Mm,
And if they can grow up here and understand Japanese culture, understand Japanese and have that identity, it would be great,
yeah,
for
that's true.
Japan and have that outside perspective from their parents,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Why? Okay, let me ask you this. This is kind of a controversial one. Why Japan? Why do you want to stay here when you have such a international background and experience?
Um, why do I want to stay in Japan? I think right now for me, as a having a international background, but also being Japanese, I can have the most impact being in Japan. So I am able to maybe connect to more of the international founders with Japanese founders and also build my business. I think there's different ways that I can have a impact here, and that's one reason I
Mm,
am staying here. Another reason I think right now, as I mentioned earlier, Tokyo right now, or Japan in general, is there's a lot of things going on with the startup scene, and
mm,
there's not just money, but more of just events or people connecting with each other, government supporting. There's a lot going on, and it's a really exciting time to be here. So I definitely want to stay here and
awesome.
start my business. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really hope that you get your business off the ground and
Yeah.
able to make an impact here for sure. All right. So Yuki, we have a little tradition on this podcast
Oh, okay.
where the last guest leaves a question for you to answer. And after that, you will leave a question for the next guest.
Okay.
Okay. So here is that question. So they asked you, what do you think makes a great leader, and how will leadership change in the future?
That's such a great question to ask right now, especially because in the world, I think you see these leaders that are more dictatorship.
Mm. Mhm.
Especially in the Western culture right now. And there are, I don't know if you call it successful, or they do have a huge impact in the world. And maybe that is the better way of leading a bigger group. But for me, myself, I think leadership is that you really listen to everyone and you come up with one consensus idea. And you kind of, I really believe in you showing being a role model for these people to follow. So you're not just telling them what to do, but you do them, you set up some role model for them to follow and kind of move as a team.
Mhm.
So being a leader rather than a boss, just bosses, just like, okay, you do this, you do that, you do this, and this
Right.
is what we're going to do. But my leadership style is just really pulling the team forward with them and
Mm,
being a team player.
that's good. So how do you think it will change in the future?
Um, I hope it stays the way that I see leadership as of
Mm.
really trying to understand people's backgrounds or what their opinions are and coming up with one consensus as a team. But I do kind of see it changing to leaders just pulling a crowd because they think a certain way. And I think it's,
Yeah, I don't,
we'll
yeah.
see.
My country is all messed up at the moment, so I can definitely see that happening. Um, yeah, and also with technology and all this
Yeah.
misinformation and like all that stuff, I think that we have to be really careful on how we're giving messages to millions of people, and
Yeah.
because it's really misleading and deceptive sometimes, and
Yeah.
people can follow the wrong leader, and that's a problem.
Yes.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
good. Yes,
I do
yes.
feel like everyone could be a leader. I think there's also a concept of shared leadership where people take different kind of leads in different contexts and situations. That
Mhm.
would be a nice leadership style as well.
100%. I agree that anyone can be a leader
Yeah.
and, they can learn leadership. It's
Mhm.
not something you're born with. You can learn how to be a leader, right? Good. Okay, Yuki, it's your turn. What question do you
Um,
have for the next guest? Yes.
I want to ask them what motivates you to wake up every single day.
Oh, I like it. That is a great question. Oh, I'd have to think about that one for myself, but yeah, that's a good one. That's a really, really good one. Well, Yuki, it has been an absolute pleasure
No,
interviewing you
thank
today.
you
I
for,
really enjoyed our conversation. If our listeners would like to connect with you, what's the best way to do that?
I have LinkedIn, so if you could message me on LinkedIn, I'm
More than happy to connect. Awesome. Yeah.
talk at anything. Yes.
I'll link your profile below. Thank you so much for that. And Yuki, I'm looking forward to following, your journey. I'm really excited to see what you build next. Hopefully you find a co-founder.
Yes.
I think it will really help your journey, and
Any co-founders out there? Anyone want to start a company?
it's
Big
super,
company.
super, super hard to find a co-founder, but it's not impossible.
Yes,
I've done,
exactly. It's the
I've done it
mindset.
multiple times now, so I think you will do it. And yeah, just keep at it. All I'd say is like you're very young, right?
Yeah.
So you started out your journey, your career with entrepreneurship. I really think you should keep at it because it's the only way forward. I mean, working for these companies, it's not. It's really not. But keep doing what you're doing, Yuki. Thank you so much for your
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Yes, it was
Been
great. It was a
amazing. Thank you
pleasure.
so much.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Product Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, or leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps the channel grow. And if you want to share your PM stories, challenges, struggles, or insights with us on a future episode, please get in touch with us on LinkedIn. We'd love to have you on and keep this conversation going. Until next time, happy building, everyone.